Let's look at our first problem. We're going to subtract 9 minus a negative 3. Now remember, the rule of subtracting numbers is we're going to change the subtraction sign to addition. Once we do that, we change the sign of the number being subtracted to the opposite sign. So for instance, this is negative 3. Since we're subtracting a negative 3, it's the same as adding a positive 3. Now we return to our rules of addition, which is this: if the signs are the same, add the numbers and take their sign. 9 plus 3 is 12. They're both positive, so that leaves our solution with positive 12. Let's look at another problem. We're going to subtract negative 12, subtract a negative 5. Again, the rule for subtraction is we'll take our subtraction problem and actually turn it into an addition problem. What we do is change that subtraction sign to addition, but don't forget, once you do that, make sure you take the sign of the number that you're subtracting and change it to the opposite sign. Right now it's negative 5, it becomes positive 5. Now we go back to our rules of addition. Remember, the signs here happen to be different. One negative, one positive. Again, if the signs are different, we disregard the signs, subtract the smaller from the larger, and take the sign of the larger in absolute value. So let's do that. Disregard the sign, subtract the smaller from the larger, which would give us 12, subtract 5, 7, and now we're going to take the sign of the larger in absolute value. In this case, negative 12 has a larger value in absolute value, so that gives us again the sign negative. So negative 12 minus a negative 5, once we do all our changes, subtracts to the total of negative 7. Let's look at our next problem. We're going to subtract negative 1/5 minus 1/4. Again, we get our fractions, but let's deal with it. Remember, when we're subtracting these real numbers, we change the subtraction sign to addition. And then we change the sign of the number being subtracted to the opposite sign. We have positive 1/4, it becomes a negative 1/4. Now we return to our rules of addition. The signs are the same, they're both negative. So what that means is we're going to just add the numbers and then take their common sign. In this case, that's negative. So let's look at the fractions, 1/5 and 1/4. I'm sure you can easily see in this case, the common denominator is 20. So we're going to rewrite both fractions over the common denominator of 20. Let's review converting these. Remember, in order to get 5, to have a denominator of 20, we must multiply by 4. 5 times 4 is 20, so 1 times 4 is 4. We'll use the same procedure on our second fraction. 4 times what is 20? 4 times 5. So 1 times 5 is 5. Again, the rule that we're using is this: if the signs are the same, just add the numbers and take their sign. So now that we have the common denominators, we're ready to add the fractions. 4/20 plus 5/20. Common denominator, 20. 4 plus 5, 9. We checked back to see what the common sign was. They were both negative to begin with, so common sign negative. Final sum, negative 9/20. Let's take a look at our next two problems. We're going to calculate negative 21 minus 9. Again, what we're doing is subtracting real numbers. Again, the rule for subtraction: change the subtraction sign to addition. Change the sign of the number being subtracted to the opposite sign that it is. It's positive 9 here, so we'll make it negative 9. Now let's look at our problem again. We have negative 21 plus negative 9. We go back to our rules of addition. If the signs are the same, in this case they're both negative, we're going to add the numbers and take their common sign. Again, that's negative. 21 plus 9, 30. Again, the common sign negative. So our total is negative 30. Let's look at our next problem. 17 minus 36. Again, change the subtraction sign to addition. Change the sign of the number being subtracted to the opposite sign that it is. It's positive 36 right now, so we'll make that a negative 36. Again, back to the rules of addition. If the signs are different, here we have one positive, one negative. Disregard the signs. Subtract the smaller from the larger. Take the sign of the larger in absolute value. I hope you have that memorized by now. So again, the signs are different. We're going to disregard the sign. Subtract the smaller from the larger. 36 minus 17. 36 minus 17 is 19. And we're going to take the sign of the larger in absolute value. Again, we go back up here. We notice that negative 36 has a larger value in absolute value, which makes our 19 a negative 19. So our final solution here is negative 19. Let's look at our next problem. We're going to subtract a few decimals here. Subtract negative 17.3 minus a negative 17.3. Now again, change the sign of the number being subtracted to the opposite sign that it is. Right now it's negative 17.3. We make it positive 17.3. Now again, we return to our rules for addition, and that is, if the signs are different, disregard the signs, subtract the smaller from the larger, take the sign of the larger in absolute value. In this particular problem, notice we have the same number, 17.3 and 17.3. So neither is larger or smaller. So we'll just subtract them from each other. 17.3 subtract 17.3. We know that that's equal to 0. We know that 0 carries no sign. That means it's neither positive nor negative. It's neutral. So negative 17.3 minus that original negative 17.3 is equal to 0.